Right, hi guys, and welcome to the 10th episode of Team Talk. Again, I'm here with Sam.
Hello everyone.
Lovely. And today we're doing an episode all about Mikel Arteta's tricky Reds, Arsenal. After a fantastic win yesterday in the North London derby, we've seen just how good we can be. But we also know, based on the whole season that we've just experienced and are currently experiencing, that there's a lot to work on. So today we're going to sort of go right into it and see what we really need to be doing in the summer and how we can hopefully look to really kick on for next season. So I was thinking the best place to start when it comes to fixing a team that's sort of all out of sorts is what players do we sort of definitely want to be looking at pushing towards the exit door. So is there any names that spring to your mind first of all, Sam, that you think maybe Arsenal could definitely look to get out in the summer? Joe Willock, that's a surprise. I thought you really liked him and that he was your favourite player. I heard you asked Rachel for your birthday to get his name on the back of your next Arsenal shirt.
100%.
But yeah, I mean, that's understandable. I think it's one of those where you kind of always want your young players to shine and to come through and become sort of first team regulars, which I guess, to be fair, he has, especially last season. Maybe obviously not this season, but he's not good enough really, and he's getting to that age where you sort of transition from like young exciting prospect to like not like nearly made it sort of player, and you don't want it to get to that point where his value sort of plummets because he's not a young player anymore. So I feel like if we could get like 15 odd million from him, I mean, if Newcastle go down, then they ain't going to be paying it to us, so that might be an issue. But if we can get a decent enough fee for him, then I agree we should be looking to move him on. Is there anyone else you're thinking of?
To be fair, we've done quite well to get rid of Deadwood in January. I think at the moment, I'm trying to think. Callum Chambers, I think we can get rid of.
Yep, no, I agree with that.
I would personally get rid of Eddie.
Get rid of Eddie, yeah.
Personally.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair enough.
Yeah, I would get rid of Eddie. Other than that, can you think of any like big names to get rid of? Like, you would definitely.
I think another one that would definitely get rid of. I know he's not necessarily one you to think of because of what has happened this season, but I do think that we should get rid of Torreira as well, because I know obviously you forget about him, but he's on the book still. Someone like him we should definitely be looking to get. As much as I don't think he's a bad player, I think we just need to move on from him, get whatever we can for him, and move on, because he's never going to get back into us.
I think we can get good 20 mil.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You could get good 20 mil, I think.
I think a lot of Serie A teams...
Yeah, it's not, he's a bad player.
Yeah, I think a lot of the Italian teams would quite like to get him as well. So I don't know how much we get. Maybe if we offered like the whole year loan and then you buy him permanently next year, one of the Italian clubs might really go for that sort of deal.
Yeah.
I think the next sort of player that potentially as well, I mean, there's a few that I'm not too sure about, but I feel like we'll sort of discuss it a bit more later on, but I do think, maybe not as a definite out, I think maybe it's harsh, but if we could potentially sell Hector Bellerin as well for a decent fee, then I think he should be gone as well. Not because he's rubbish, but just because we've got Cedric, who I think is a decent backup, and if we can hopefully sign someone in the summer in that position, which also we get onto later, then that would be quite a decent fee we could get, I think, for Hector. But other than that, I think, like you said, Nketiah, Willock, some of the younger players, well, maybe even Maitland-Niles, to be fair. As much as I do think he's got it in him to be a good player, I don't think he's mentally got it there to...
His attitude, yeah. He's just too he's just too calm. Like, it sounds ridiculous, but he generally is just too calm. Like, he doesn't seem to have any like urgency about his play, which sometimes you need.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's that focus as well in big games that maybe he lacks. But I think the unfortunate thing is he's one of those people who, like, naturally and physically, he's the perfect footballer. But it's just, and even, like, technically he's got a lot there. It's just, I think mentally he's so convinced he's a central midfielder, which is fine, because if that's what he wants, then that's completely fine. It's just that he won't be a central midfielder for Arsenal or any other top club, and I think that's where we need to sort of draw that line and say, do you want to be a right back? If so, cool. If not, that's it. We'll sell you for hopefully like 15, 20 million. But I'd quite happily give him another go if he agrees to say, you know what, I'll play right back and that's it. If he agrees to that.
I thought he done really well last season, especially when he was in the FA Cup run when we played City and Chelsea, and he played both of them games at right back. He had a really good run.
I think that's what annoys me, because and the thing as well is he can play like the sort of left back role as well if we need him to, a bit like Cedric. And I think I'd happily have him come in and be the starting right back. It's just that we need him to know in his head that that's his position, whereas I think he's always been kind of playing on his mind that he's playing here for now, hoping that he can earn his way into midfield.
But when we saw him live as well, again, Victoria game, when he played centre mid, he just didn't seem comfortable. I think even you see him at West Brom, even though he's playing centre mid, but Gallagher literally takes complete show over Maitland-Niles, and he doesn't seem to be in his natural position. Where I think fullback, he's got the license to use his pace and get up and down the pitch.
Yeah, I think
and that's one of his main attributes is his pace.
Yeah, because I think the problem for him is, I wouldn't say his shooting's is great. So it's not like as a winger, you can sort of say, yeah, you can beat a man quickly and get a shot away and you score. So I don't have any faith in that instance. Whereas as a fullback, you've kind of just got to skip past your man and just whip a ball in. And I think he's a lot better at that than he is sort of finishing. So I think wing back is his perfect position. So hopefully he can stay there. But if not, yeah, definitely he needs to go, I think, unfortunately. And I think the only other questionable one, which we can discuss, is what happens with Gwen Doozy. Because obviously
I'd love for him to come back.
I want him to come back. I think as much as I think Dani Ceballos gets a bit of unnecessary hate, I think for whatever Madrid are going to ask us for, I don't think it's worth paying unless it's really cheap to the point where it feels like a steal. Because to me, I think he's a good player, but I think he's not. He's been here 2 years and he's not really ever been. Apart from the end of last season when there was no one else really, he's never really had a decent run in the side. And I think that to me sort of shows, is he someone who we want to be spending our money on, or do we want to be spending our money on someone who we're confident can actually outplace Granit Xhaka or Thomas Partey? And I don't think Ceballos has got that in him. So I think I'd much rather test the potential of Gwen Doozy and maybe spend 25 million on someone else who can actually give more of a competition to Xhaka and Partey. I don't know if you agree with that sort of thing on Ceballos, but I do definitely agree with you on Gwen Doozy coming back in. And I don't know if you saw, but today he done an interview with Get French Football News and said that at the moment he's committed and really, really wants to fight for his place and get back in the Arsenal team because he likes playing here. So that's good to hear, and hopefully that he'll be able to do that next season.
Yeah, no, definitely. He's such a talent as well.
I think you can't not love someone who's got such charisma. Whenever he played, he always looked like he was an Arsenal fan playing on the pitch. It's a bit like even Ceballos is quite similar to that as well, but it's that thing of every goal means everything, every tackle means everything, every pass means everything, every shot means everything. It's that thing of, remember when we played Palace and Zaha was about to clean through on the counter and Gwen Doozy rugby tackled him because he just knew what to do. I know it's not pretty, but he knew what he had to do. And sometimes you need players like that, because that point might end up getting you in a certain position that you might have lost if you didn't get the draw. So, and I think the fact that he's only sort of 20 means we should definitely give him another go before we waste the talent.
Yeah, no, definitely. You just don't have a Gnabry on our plates.
Yeah, I think I'm worrying about Balogun with that, to be honest. But I don't think we have much choice about
Yeah.
him leaving if he wants to go. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anyone else I can really think of in terms of like improving the budget. I think the one other person that we haven't mentioned who, as much as he's done all right this season, I think we might have to sell as well, is Lacazette. I think that's purely because of the fact of his age and the fact he's going to be in the last year of his contract. I think we'd be much better off selling him than letting him go for free, and we can't offer him a new deal because he's going to want more than he's already on, which is like 200 grand already. So that'd be quite good for us to maybe get him off the books and get someone else in on like a quarter of the wages maybe. And I'm sure like there's players out there who can score 10 goals a season in a decent side who who are a lot younger and require a lot less wages. So I just think
Trey Adams.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's quite an underrated player, to be honest. I mean, I don't know how much Southampton would try and rinse us for, because that's the problem with every Prem side. They seem to think all their players are worth hundreds of millions for some reason. So someone like Che Adams, if he played for like Celta Vigo in Spain, you could probably get him for like 15 million. But it's just the sort of problem with Premier League clubs' valuation. I think Edouard from Celtic's only valued around like 15 million, and I reckon there's definitely players in other leagues that we can look at who would be a lot better value. As much as I like some of the players in the Prem, I just think they're always way too overpriced for what you actually get. Like, you sort of thing with like Adams, I bet you'd have to buy him for like 35 million. He's not worth 35. He's not even worth 25, really. Like, I don't know how old he is, but so it's that problem of I don't think we'll get him for a reasonable enough price. But I definitely think we will have to sell Lacazette as well. It's not like a definite out in the sense of like Joe Willock, where you're like, yeah, it's just not good enough. It's just the fact that going into last year of the contract, nearly 30 now, wages are way too high for the sort of output he has given us. So I think it's just time for us to move on, get someone else in. Maybe it's one of those where you could say give more minutes to like someone like Martinelli, but I just think with the way we've been playing recently with Lacazette playing up front, we need to try and get someone like him. And unfortunately, someone like Chad Adams might actually be quite a fun option, but I think there's someone else out there we can get who offer that same sort of thing for a better value, so we can spend better elsewhere.
I would say Ollie Watkins, but it would be too much at the moment.
Again, it's another thing with.
And he supports Arsenal.
To be fair, I think with the Prem, it's actually quite frustrating because that's all we really watch and that's all we really talk about. So like, there's a lot of players in the Prem who would be good, but they just cost too much. So I think that we're going to have to probably go into Europe unless we want to spend stupid money. But then it's that thing of, to me, it's almost like if you're going to go and spend a lot of money, like say Aston Villa, if Aston Villa want like 40 for Watkins, which they're probably going to want if they spent 30 million last summer, then I'd almost rather we just went all out and just got Calvert-Lewin, because I think Calvert-Lewin's better and he's still a similar age, maybe even younger, and the ceiling's a lot higher and he's like the perfect Premier League forward, because we whip in so many crosses, and imagine Tierney with crossing it into Dominic Calvert-Lewin on the near post every time. Like, you guarantee like 10 assists for Tierney in one season probably. So I just think if you're going to go big in the Prem, you might as well go all out. But we'll have to wait and see with that one. But I do definitely think Lacazette's going to go. And then the sort of final thing before we move on properly to the sort of problem areas in the squad that we want to sign players for, is there any sort of any of the younger players that you think maybe we should be sending out on loan for next season?
I think Smith Rowe we need to keep. Obviously, straight in the first side. Saka obviously is a first team player already. If we don't sell Willock, put him back out on loan. Maitland Niles, put him back out on loan if we don't sell him. I don't know. I can't. I think we need to get obviously Saliba in. And I don't think we should put him back out on loan. I think we should make sure he's in the first team. And then it's going to sound really stupid, But if we get Saliba and he is as good as everything is, I think we should get rid of Rob Holding
Yeah, no, that's a good idea actually.
as well. Because then I think at the moment of the season, I'll give Louise another year. I know it sounds ridiculous as well, but Louise, I think he's one of he's such a big character in the dressing room as well, and you can see he's linking well with Gabriel. And then we got Pablo Mari as well, who's also a very good centre back, I think. So I think if you got Mari, Louise, Gabriel, Saliba, and then you've also got that Greek defender on loan as well. Apparently he's doing really well.
Yeah.
That's 5 decent centre backs, and
You know,
I just don't think Holding's.
you know who we've also forgotten about?
Go.
Callum Chambers is
Who's
still
that?
somewhere in the abyss.
No, I would get rid of him.
Okay.
I'll get rid of him.
Yeah, I think
Get rid of him.
Chambers definitely. I can't believe I forgot about him, but Chambers definitely has to go. Again, I don't even think he's a bad player, and I feel bad for him because when he got injured, he was our best centre back. But that's just how the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. And I think it's only fair on his career that he gets a better chance somewhere else. And I think a lot of clubs would do a lot better if they had him in their side. Same with Rob Holding. I think I think he's weird. He started the season seemingly like our first choice, but I think Louise is definitely better than him. Saliba is like 20 and probably already better than him based on the fact that he went to like Nice and was already their like best player like 2 months in a row. And then that's the two right-sided. Even if you keep Mavropanos or send him out on loan again, then you've got Mari and Gabriel on the other side. You don't need anyone else. You've almost even got like someone like Xhaka who can play there as like a backup if you need someone. And there's got to be some sort of centre back in the youth team who can maybe step in as a like fun little option if we get in the Europa League group stage again. Or Carabao Cup 3rd round. So I think honestly, yeah, get rid of probably both Holding and Chambers to be honest with you, because that's a decent amount. If you can get 15 odd mil for both of them, that's 30 mil. That's a decent player you can sign there. Make the squad, make the like first 11 better by not really weakening the squad. So that's how you need to kind of look at those sort of signs. So no, that's a good call from you actually. I think one player who definitely has to go out on loan is Reese Nelson, because I feel like he's got so much potential, but it's just not coming out. I mean, another player I'd quite almost like to see go on loan, but like to a decent side would be Aziz, because I think when I watched him play in the Europa League, he only played for a little bit, but he just looked so calm and composed on the ball, and I'd quite like to see how he does, like playing week in week out at like sort of the professional level. But I almost think he's the sort of player that could easily play a few more games for us, like in general, like just during the normal season, just because of how good he looks on the ball. I mean, someone like Nketiah, like he can't really go on loan because his contract's up, so he needs to get sold. I think they said Willock maybe could go on loan again if he give him another chance to try and prove himself. I think Maitland-Niles should just get sold no matter what. I think it's too late for it. It'll be like 25 by the end of the loan if we keep him another season. And I don't think there's any other youth players. I would say Martinelli needs to go on loan, but I just feel like he just needs to play more in general. I don't think he necessarily needs a loan. I just feel like he's just not getting played enough, so maybe a loan might be the best option if Arteta doesn't want to play him yet.
It's just been unlucky as well with Willian picking up some form.
Yeah, I agree.
I know William has been awful. When you think about it, a few weeks ago, where everyone was saying how he's probably one of the worst signings of the season. And he has sort of picked up his game. He's got like last 4 games, 4 assists. Yeah. So it's not bad. It's not a bad stat. But yeah, I think that hasn't helped Martinelli when being able to get inside. You've got Aubameyang, you've got Pepe, you've obviously got Saka, who's definitely a first team player. Smith Rowe, he's now been pushed further around the wing because of Odegaard. So it's hard for Martinelli to even get a look at the moment.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think, like I said, if Arteta's convinced that he's not going to play a lot next season, then maybe it might be quite good to give him a loan on to one of the lower Premier League teams, because he'll probably get a 30-game season. But otherwise, I'd quite happily just see him stay, because I feel like he offers a lot. If we're in more competitions, then he should get more game time, and I think he's good enough and he deserves it. So hopefully he does carry on with us next season. So anyway, that's it for sort of the exits. I think moving on to the sort of real important stuff, we've got the problem areas and the needs, the sort of players we want to be signing. So I think the key areas I want to highlight are right back, and this is a starting right back. We need a backup left back. I think we're fine for centre back. I think if we sign Matt Ryan, we don't need a keeper. If we don't sign Matt Ryan, then obviously we need a backup keeper. I think depending on what happens with midfield, I think we probably need another central midfielder, and then we need another striker. And then if we sign Odegaard as well, then we don't need a attacking midfielder. If we don't sign him, we do. That sort of thing. So in this ideal scenario, we'll say we're going to sign Odegaard, let's say for like 35, maybe, like high 30 million probably. Maybe low, I don't know, depending on what Arsenal agree. But I reckon Madrid will sell him to us because I feel like Odegaard seems to have mentally decided that he wants to stay. And I don't think he really likes Zidane as a manager too much. So I think that'll help our cause. And let's assume as well that Ryan's going to stay. So we want backup left back, starting right back, central midfielder and striker. Obviously we don't want to go overboard with the money because we're not going to have that much money to spend. Starting with right back, who would you suggest off the top of your head? And also, before I go into this, is there any other positions other than those four I've stated that you think we might need to look into?
You say strikers?
Yeah, I said the four positions were striker, central midfield, backup left back, and a starting right back.
Yeah, no, I can't. Yeah, I agree.
Cool. So starting with right back, I think you sort of really noticed this season the difference between Bellerin and Tierney is the power that Tierney has, the aggression and the directness, and I think as well Bellerin's real weakness is his crosses are very aimless. They're very he knows what area he wants it to go into. It doesn't always go into it, and it's a lot of time hit with not very much power, so it requires a lot of expertise from the player connecting with the ball, as opposed to Tierney, as we saw yesterday of Odegaard. His shot wasn't very good, but because the ball was so quick, people didn't have time to set, and that's why it got a lucky deflection off Alderweireld, and Lloris couldn't set his feet. Whereas that was a Bellerin cross, the keeper and the defender have time to watch the ball come across, get set, ready to block, ready to make a save. And I think one of the most important things we should be looking for in the stats category is that the sort of accuracy and the directness of their crossing and their runs in behind. I mean, I know that when Lamptey's played, he's looked a lot sort of with what we want, but there's a lot of fullbacks I think who offer a lot more than Bellerin in that department. So I don't think Bellerin's necessarily bad. I just think it's very it seems almost unnatural for him when you compare it to how Tierney just skips past his man, whacks across it, and it's almost in the perfect area or the perfect place every single time. And I think that's what we maybe won't get anywhere near as good as Tierney on the right, but we might be able to get someone who can offer the same sort of job, maybe at a slightly lower level. That means that we can play down the right and down the left, and teams can't just block one side. Like with Liverpool, if you block the right too much, then they'll just give it to Robertson and he'll cross it in. If you block the left too much, I'll give it to Trent, he'll cross it in. And I think that's where you don't want to be too unbalanced. Because I think yesterday, Spurs played completely into our hands by basically saying, yeah, your left side can have a free run because Bale ain't going to defend. Doherty is not good enough to do it on his own. And we basically just completely ruined them down that side. And that's what we want, to the point where a team might go completely opposite to Spurs and say, right, we're going to completely mark out the left, so Tierney's not going to have a field day, but because of that we'll just go down the right, and whoever our right back is will then just be doing exactly the same thing, and the exact same results will be coming because they be trying to manage on the left side too much. So I think if we can get a Lamptey, I mean Matty Cash would be nice as well. There's probably a few players in Europe as well who'd be quite fun for that position, because we just need someone who's solid defensively, doesn't have to be a world-class defender or anything, and has got a lot of pace and power going forward. I don't know if there's anyone else you've maybe got off the top of your head who you could potentially name, because I know there's not too many like top level right backs that aren't sort of signed already to a big club. But is there anyone else you can think of?
I was thinking, obviously, Tarek Lamptey, which we're quite heavily into at the moment anyway. Um, yeah, I think the names you sort of suggested are the best sort of names that we could really go for, obviously, with a lower sort of price range. I know probably Tarek Lamptey can be fairly
Expensive.
quite a big amount. Yeah, he's probably going to be what, 25, I reckon.
I reckon maybe more, because they've just signed him to a new deal. I reckon he's the sort of one where maybe we can like angle some kind of deal, like we can say to him, you can have Joe Willock and Ainsley Maitland-Niles type thing, and we'll have him for like 20 million, because then they'll be like, oh, we're still getting a decent amount of money, and then we're also getting two players, which they would be happy with, I think, or even Nketiah.
I think
and
that'll be a stupid deal for us. Yeah, I think you need to give them someone like a striker, because that's what they lack. So you need to give them something that whereas they've got a fairly good midfield anyway. They need someone who's going to score them goals. I know Eddie's not the best goal scorer, but he's a goal poacher, so he will poach you a good 10, 15 goals, I reckon.
The thing is, Brighton make so many chances. I'd actually agree that Nketiah might be perfect for them, because he's quite a good finisher. He's just rubbish at everything else. And he's the sort of player who, if he gives like 2 to 3 chances a game, he probably score like once every 3 games. And that's what you want when you're Brighton. So I think, to be honest with you, I think he might actually be quite good for them. But that's what I mean. That's the sort of thing we need to be doing this summer, especially with like teams like Brighton, because they might think, oh, well, Arsenal can't afford 45 million, but if anything, they're paying us more than 45 million if we give them like Nketiah and Maitland-Niles, for example. But for them, that'd be perfect, because they'd replace Lamptey with a right wing back as such, and then they'd also get a striker. So that's the sort of thing. I know it's like not career mode, but do you know what I mean? Like that's the sort of deal they might actually accept.
Yeah, no, I get you, man.
So I mean, let's say in this example that perfectly worked out for us. We get rid of, let's say, Maitland-Niles and Nketiah and like 20 million for Lamptey. I think left back could be quite a good one in terms of like East, because Ryan Bertrand's out of contract, and I think so's that. Is it? What's his name? Is it Mitchell, the left back for?
Oh,
the left back for Crystal.
And he just signed it. I thought it was Jacob Mitchell,
the guy for Crystal Palace. Yeah, the 19.
Yeah.
If he signed a new deal, then fair enough. That's off the cards. But I think Bertrand could be quite a nice option, because I don't know how bothered he's going to be about starting week in, week out, but we kind of want someone like that who, if say like Bertrand, say Tierney got injured, I'd be completely fine with Bertrand playing 5 games in a row. I'm not saying he's a top player or anything, but I wouldn't be thinking, oh god, like I'm so like nervous for every game that he plays. Like I'd be more than happy with him playing, because I know that he's a competent player, and I think that's what we need. Almost like a Cedric on the other side, which is funny because it's Southampton signing the fullback on a free transfer, but that's what we need as a backup left back. I don't want anyone who's going to come in thinking they have to start ahead of Tierney, because Tierney on his day is a world class player, so we don't need that. But yeah, I think someone like Bertrand that we can get on a free would be perfect, or someone we can get maybe who's a bit cheaper but maybe a bit younger, who can sort of come in and maybe be a bit of an understudy, but also happy to just work really hard to sort of get a few starts in the cup competitions and in the league, because knowing that Tierney's not going to be able to play the full season because he does get niggly injuries. I don't really know who else to suggest on that situation. I'm sure there's loads of players.
Patrick Van Holden.
I don't think. See, with him, I'd be more worried about
in
terms of. I think Kolasinac is on the same level, if not better, than Van Aanholt.
No way.
I think we maybe don't appreciate Kolasinac. Maybe isn't a great player, but he's not awful. Whereas I don't really think Van Aanholt's that great. Like I'd rather we almost kept. I wouldn't want to keep Kolasinac because his wages are way too high. But say we could say to him, we'll sign you again for 50k a week. Then I'd happily just rather have Kolasinac and get Van Aanholt.
Kolasinac reminds me a bit like, I know it's going to sound really stupid. Kolasinac reminds me a bit of Frim. He's got power. He's got a good he's quick, but he's just got no common sense.
Yeah. Yeah, for him he's a bit of a clumsy Bosnian man, to be fair. No, but yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. No common sense whatsoever. That is definitely for him. And as the people will find out more as these go along. But I don't know. I think there's definitely going to be someone out there who we can get for a cheap price. There's probably loads of players in Europe. I think Jordan and Marvey from Brighton. Why did I say that? From Marseille is on his contract's ending in the summer. I think Juan Bernat. I know that's a stupid one because he's going to want to start, but there's a lot of players who we can potentially look at as a backup, and as long as we don't end up paying too high a wage, then I'll be more than happy with anyone as long as we have one, so that Tierney doesn't have to play every game or we're screwed, sort of thing. I think one of the key positions for us this summer could be signing a central midfielder. I think maybe, I know that the sort of the dream scenario would be we get someone like Awar, like who we wanted last year, because he's young, top level player, sort of adds that difference of ability to what we've already got. But I don't know really, because I feel like the role Xhaka plays is suiting us quite well. I don't know what Arteta's idea of the perfect partner for Partey is in midfield, and it'd be quite interesting to see whether he goes to someone like Aouar who's a bit more creative, good on the ball, or whether he just wants someone who's like almost like if he would rather have like Declan Rice there. So someone who I think Declan Rice plays like Granit Xhaka, but he's just better. He's just faster, like more dynamic, that type of thing. But I think like you've got players like Basuma at Brighton as well, who's a decent player. And there's plenty of players in Europe as well who can probably offer a decent role that we'd actually really benefit from having. But I think this maybe could be the position that we really go all out for this summer. That's like we spend the most money on, because I think this is the sort of defining factor in terms of making us a top level team that can play against your likes of Man City and Liverpool and Man United confidently. So yeah, I mean, if we could get someone like Aouar for like 45 million again or something like that, then I think we should go for it, because that would be such an exciting team to watch him and Partey playing next to each other. I just worry a little bit whether the defensive aspects of the game would suffer a bit, because Xhaka does drop back a lot, and that offers extra defensive stability. But was there anyone in particular you like the look of, or you'd quite happily see play next to Partey next season?
I think it's quite similar though. Keste from AC Milan.
Yeah.
He looked quite good against United the other night. Basuma, I think he's a good player. He holds the ball up well. He's got quite good distribution as well. Ruben Neves is a bit of an odd one, but I think he's a very good midfielder, box to box.
Yeah. I like Neves.
So I think, yeah. But I think it'll cost quite a lot.
Yeah, Wolves are a weird club though, because they sign players for a lot, and I feel like because of all the agents' fees, it probably costs a lot to get someone good out of them. I mean, I'd quite like to sign Neto. That'd be to pinch someone like that.
And you've got Saka there already.
Yeah, that's very true. And someone like Martinelli, Pepe. Like, do we really need Pedro Neto? But who knows? We'll see what we end up going for. I think one. I think it's hard because we can't really go all out. Like, we can't be like a Chelsea and say, yeah, let's get Declan Rice. Let's go and get like Benacer from Juventus. There's a lot of good players we could look at, but again, I think this one's hard because it depends whether, like I said, Arteta wants to get someone who's a bit more attack minded, or whether he wants to get someone who's really defensive minded. But again, like I said, we'll see. And then the final position we can talk about is the striker that we're going to hopefully go for, assuming we will sell Lacazette and Nketiah in the summer. I think, like you said earlier, and what we did discuss, if we were not going to spend a lot on a midfielder, then I'd say, why don't we push the boat out and try and get Calvert-Lewin? because I do think he's the sort of perfect type player for us in this scenario and the way we play. But we're going to probably have to look a bit cheaper than that. Other than sort of, like you said, Watkins earlier. Is there anyone else you like the look of that potentially you think Arsenal would get for a price that would be less than like 35 million?
My dream at the moment would probably be Martinez from Inter Milan. But I think it'll probably be about 60, 70, if not more. So that's like a dream. I'm trying to think. I'll probably say like if I could Ollie Watkins, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I mean, the problem with Inter Milan at the same time is although a lot of their players are very good, they also are really struggling money-wise. So it's maybe not. I think like Lukaku, Martinez, players like that, you're not going to get them for cheap because they're too good. But there's a few players they have who maybe you could potentially nick for a cheaper price. I know a lot of people have been talking about getting Hakimi for a cheaper fee. Well, maybe not a cheaper fee, but like a reasonable fee rather than an overinflated one. But yeah, I think Martinez would be the dream, but I think we're not in the sort of position to be able to sign players like him. Yeah, I think Watkins would be quite a nice one because he offers that sort of hold-up play Lacazette does. I don't know how good he is with his feet in terms of like I feel like Lacazette's got very good close control. But again, it'd be interesting to see because I don't think we need any more like fast in behind players because Aubameyang is that, and if we don't want to play with him, then we need like a different option. We need someone who's good in the air, good at holding the ball up, and maybe if we could try and convince Watkins to sort of push for a move, that would be the perfect sort of signing for us. So, in like an ideal scenario, maybe we could end up with a summer of Lamptey, Brian Bertrand. Maybe let's say potentially it'd be a bit bad for Brighton, but like Basuma and Ollie Watkins. If you then manage to sell Torreira, Willock, Maitland-Niles and Nketiah, Lacazette, potentially if like Kolasinac will, I think you might go on a free actually. I'm not sure. Maybe Kolasinac, Holding, Chambers. I think that's quite reasonable. There's quite a high chance of us being able to afford that if we can get all those player sales over the line as well. I mean, I have a quite confident feeling about next season. I don't want to jinx it, so I'm touching wood, but I think by the way we've been playing recently, if we were to make the right additions, then I don't see any reason why we couldn't confidently push for a top 4 next season. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But, yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, at the moment we're dominating games possession-wise, but possession doesn't win games. I think we just need to be more clinical when we're attacking, be more direct, more aggressive as well with our attack play. And then like Kane's recent, like Wolves one we shouldn't have lost, Villa one we shouldn't have lost. We should have beaten Burnley the other day. It's just stupid mistakes. I know we played really well yesterday. And we deserved the win. And most games, like the other games I just listed, we deserve to win them. We're just not taking our chances and we're making stupid mistakes. So if we can cut that out and get a quality striker in who's going to finish the chances that we're providing, then we've got all the hope in the world to finish in the top 4.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of things to be hopeful for next season, and potentially, if we manage to finish this season off well with a Europa League win, then there might be even more to look forward to next season. But anyway, I think that's it for this. I think there's not really too much else we can talk about, as the fact that there's not really too much I don't think we need to improve on the way we're playing. Like you said, we're playing quite well, we're dominating games. We just need to, like you said, work on finishing chances and not making stupid mistakes. So, I think that kind of wraps up this video. I don't think there's any final thoughts I have to say. Is there anything else you want to add?
London is red.
Oh, everyone knows that anyway. There's no point saying things like that. One thing we definitely know is it's definitely not claret and blue. But anyway,
prove that Sunday.
Yeah, we'll sort them out as well. And Chelsea are coming up soon, and we'll have the triple. But we've already done them this season, to be fair. And we've already done West Ham as well, to be fair. So, anyway, that's been it. That's been that for this episode of Team Talk. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you all in the next one.
See you later.
Bye.